Growth comes at a price. But who pays the costs? From 1820 to 2022, the global economy grew from about $1 trillion to just over $130 trillion. Unfortunately, this growth has been at the cost of immense loss of nature, and this loss now poses a systemic risk to the economy, financial stability, and human well-being. All businesses depend on and impact nature, and can be agents of positive change, even those that seem far removed from nature. However, many policies either encourage harmful business activities or prevent beneficial activities. For example, large subsidies are directed to business activities that drive the destruction of nature, often with the active support of lobbying by those with vested interests in business as usual. How can we create an enabling environment where business interests align with what is good for nature and people? A landmark report from the Intergovernmental Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, IPBES, finds that this enabling environment must provide the right incentives for business and recognizes the central role of businesses in creating transformative change for a just and sustainable future. The IPBES Business and Biodiversity Report is the culmination of 3 years of work by 79 leading experts from 35 countries and all regions of the world. Approved by governments at the 12th session of the IPBES plenary in early 2026, it highlights more than 100 specific actions to measure and respond to business impacts and dependencies on nature. Too often, businesses spend more time trying to decipher complex competing frameworks for compliance and reporting than taking meaningful action. One of the powerful features of this report is that it helps to decipher which methods, metrics, and policy tools are appropriate for the scope of business, helping bring clarity and coherence to how businesses measure and report on their interactions with nature. We are moving the conversation from voluntary sustainability pledges to a science-based roadmap for system change. In 2023, global finance flows with direct negative impacts on nature were estimated at $7.3 trillion, while only about $220 billion was directed toward activities that contribute to the conservation and sustainable use of nature. The IPBES Business and Biodiversity Report finds that currently there are inadequate rewards and penalties to drive the actions needed by businesses, and that businesses often lack data to fully measure their impacts and dependencies on nature. But, as the report notes, all businesses have a responsibility to address these impacts and dependencies now, and there are many actions they can already take. These include establishing effective corporate governance and strategic frameworks, implementing actions at the level of their operations to deliver positive outcomes for nature, implementing actions across their value chain that address impacts and dependencies on nature directly and indirectly, and in the case of financial institutions, shift finance in their portfolios away from harmful activities and towards positive impacts. Data and knowledge are often siloed. Scientific literature is not written for businesses, and a lack of translation and attention to the needs of business has slowed uptake of scientific findings. Among businesses, there is also often limited understanding and recognition of indigenous peoples and local communities as stewards of biodiversity, and therefore holders of knowledge on its conservation, restoration, and sustainable use. Biodiversity loss creates risks for businesses. These include physical, transition, and systemic risks, as well as legal and financial risks. On the other hand, biodiversity-related opportunities can be created by businesses by avoiding harm to nature, mitigating negative impacts, delivering positive ones, and managing dependencies sustainably. the IPBES Business and Biodiversity Report highlights that there are also long-term opportunities available to businesses. For example, opportunities arising from sustainable land management, which could quadruple to an estimated $737 billion by 2050. When businesses avoid, reduce, or otherwise mitigate nature-related risks, these risks can become opportunities to create new value. Creating an enabling environment that incentivizes the conservation and sustainable use of nature could align what is profitable with what is good for nature and people. Creating this enabling environment would result in businesses and financial institutions being positive agents of change in transforming to a more just and sustainable economic system by addressing their impacts on biodiversity loss, climate change, and pollution. The IPBES Business and Biodiversity Report shows that an enabling environment can be created when businesses work with governments, financial actors, and other actors including civil society, indigenous peoples, and local communities. This can be done through changes in policy, legal and regulatory frameworks, economic and financial systems, social values, norms and culture, technology and data, and capacity and knowledge. This is a pivotal moment for businesses and financial institutions, as well as governments and civil society, to cut through the confusion of countless methods and metrics, and to use the clarity and coherence offered by the report to take meaningful steps towards transformative change. Businesses and other key actors can either lead the way towards a more sustainable global economy or ultimately risk extinction, both of species in nature, but potentially also their own. IPBES, Science and Policy for People and Nature.